Hello everyone, I'm Lisa, and I really wanted to begin to share my own experiences, my life experiences, the things that I've been through in the last few years to get me to where I am today, but just also all the things that I've learned after the experiences that I had, really pushing me to grow. All the things that I've learned about myself are things that could help anyone. And you know, if if helping someone is possible, it makes all the struggle that much more worth it. So to tell you a little bit about myself, my husband and I met 10 years ago. We had dated, got engaged, married. We ran a business together. We were doing A, B, and C the way we were supposed to do it. Everything was, according to what we were, supposed to do. We graduated, gone to college, then we got married. We did all the things in the order everyone said you were supposed to do it to make you happy. And as our marriage went on, we struggled with communication. We struggled with our insecurities and our fears. We didn't know how to emotionally heal, and so things piled up, and slowly it deteriorated our marriage, and our happily ever after wasn't existing anymore. How come this didn't, we did A, B, and C like we were supposed to. How come we weren't getting the results we were supposed to get? I was very much a people pleaser. I did everything for everyone else. I sacrificed myself first and foremost. And I was miserable. I was miserable inside because I didn't know who I was. I wasn't taking care of my values. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was giving so much to everyone else and not filling myself back up that I didn't have more to give, and I was still trying to give something I didn't have anymore. We live in a small town, and there's the expectations of, the fake facade of looking right and being perfect and wanting to make everyone happy so that the community loves you. And I felt like I was walking on a tightrope, that I was just, the slightest breeze was going to blow me off, and I was going to go tumbling down, and everything was going to fall apart. And in reality, it kind of did. But hitting rock bottom allowed me to grow, because I wasn't growing. I wasn't changing. I was just surviving. I was just trying to hold it all together, but I wasn't living life to its fullest. I wasn't my best self, and I wasn't enjoying life. My husband and I were having troubles in our marriage. I started doing counseling on my own. I begged him to go. He finally went. But it just really wasn't quite enough. She would only see us once a month, and it was just really a struggle because we needed more. And I knew we needed more, and I think he did too. We just didn't know what that was. And then he lost his mom, and that I was very close with his mom, so losing her very unexpectedly was a huge trauma for us. And it was a catalyst for everything that we were already headed towards. I was already thinking about divorcing and leaving. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to leave, but I didn't know what else to do. And then his mom passed, and I thought, no, I can't do that. I got really sick after that, my body started to shut down. I had surgery and I was really weak, and I lost a ton of weight first, and then I had surgery because they thought that would help, and it didn't. I ended up with a massive kidney stone, and they wouldn't do anything for it because I just had surgery. They wanted to wait, see if I could pass it myself. So I'm, in excruciating pain on a daily basis for that. And like, my health was very deteriorating. One thing after another was showing up. And I helped my husband with the business, so I wasn't working all of a sudden because I physically couldn't, and that was scary. We were already in a massive amount of grief, and then a family member said something to my husband one day, and he kind of snapped. They commented how sick I looked, and he got, knowing now, I know so much more. That day, it was so scary because I didn't know where he was coming from. I didn't know how to communicate with him. I didn't know what he was feeling. He wasn't sharing it. He was bottling it up. He wasn't dealing with his anger. And his fear of losing me showed up as anger. And he was really angry. And that day, he kept insisting that I had to take care of myself, which I didn't have any idea what that meant. What do you mean take care of myself? My only purpose was to take care of our son, because that was all I was capable of at that point. If he took that away from me, I was nothing. I felt worthless. I physically could do so little as it was. And our son was 18 months, and he needed to be the priority in my eyes. And my husband insisted that he take our son, and I thought he was taking my son away from me. He was so desperate for me to get better that he acted in anger and irrational, and I was so desperate to be worth something that I was petrified of his anger. I was petrified of losing my son. I was petrified of everything that happened that day. My husband left bruises on my arms because he tried to move me out of the way, or he did move me out of the way. And that scared me, that petrified me too. So that was our rock bottom. I left after that, and I filed for divorce. I didn't want a divorce. I didn't want my marriage to end, but I didn't know what else to do, and I knew that I was lost, and I needed a lot of healing, and I didn't know how else to get it, and so did he. So that was our rock bottom. I fell into a depression after that. He got himself into a men's group and started working on himself, which was life-changing for him. Then I was depressed for a while. I left with little to nothing, so I was starting over. I got myself a job. I started doing daycare, knowing, picking something that I knew would, one, distract me, but two, push me to see the good. And hanging out with kids is usually pretty amazing, at least for me. They're distracting, but they also have such amazing moments of joy. So I started doing daycare again and watching kids, and and just focusing on that one day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time, and bringing myself out of that depression by finding the little pieces of joy, just the tiny ones. And sometimes they weren't even my pieces of joy, they were the kids, but paying attention to their joy allowed me to eventually find pieces for myself. So as I slowly brought myself out of that, I started to be able to, you know, hey, this isn't who I want to be. This isn't the mom I want to be. This isn't the person I want to be. And I certainly wasn't the wife I wanted to be. So I started reading books. I started going to therapy. I started a group therapy. And then COVID happened and all my therapies shut down. And so I continued with the books. I continued, I found online workshops and just piecing information together to try to rebuild me, to find me. And I dated myself for a while. I didn't speak to my husband for a long time, 7 months to be exact. I didn't speak to him. We co-parented our son through, I communicated through notes specifically about our son, but I wouldn't talk to him. After, in that 7 months, there were a couple events that really helped. My lawyer had told me to report what happened for the domestic violence, so I did. I thought all that it was a report. Well, they pressed charges, which was overwhelming, but it actually in turn helped the healing process. My husband had never done anything like that before. So at his sentencing hearing, I spoke. And that was scary, but it was really good for me to have an opportunity to say what I needed to say in a safe space. And he spoke and he talked about the program that he was in and the retreat that he'd gone to, and there was just such a drastic difference in him. And it was hope. It was hopeful. I remember saying to the victim's advocate next to me that, God, I hope that's true. I hope that change is lasting. And the judge had asked what I wanted to see happen. And, you know, I was very focused on our son, that I just wanted him to be a good dad. And so, the judge was very complimentary that if the two of us could continue to work in the direction we were on ourselves, putting our child first, he knew that we would do well and that our son would do well. And that was a huge boost, that, okay, this guy sees all kinds of stuff. If he can say that to us, we can figure this out. Because co-parenting was something I never thought, not like this, I never thought I'd have to do it like this. As a single mom, separated, sharing my child, I didn't think I'd ever do that. So here I was in the midst of something I'd never experienced before, in many ways. Our son was baptized a couple weeks later, and I allowed my husband to come, despite the restraining order. We did all the paperwork and stuff, whatever. So he came to that and was very respectful of my boundaries, of my space, and it felt good. Like, I can have boundaries and they can be respected. My husband started to he wrote me some apologies after that. He asked if he could send them to me, and I said yes, and he wrote apologies, owning and taking responsibility for his choices and his behavior and what he was working on. And it was really inspiring that, like, okay, well, if he can do that, so can I. And so that helped in my journey to be able to find where I was responsible, and helped my growth area to say, okay, well, if he can do this, so can I. I can continue. It was almost like encouraging that I can continue my own growth. We started to use like a co-parenting app after that and actually talk, which was a huge step for me because I was scared. I didn't trust my own instincts anymore for a long time. And so feeling like it was a safe environment to talk to him again was a big step. And we slowly rebuilt. That was kind of the start of rebuilding trust in terms of talking to one another, being open, listening, practicing listening, changing how we communicated with one another. And you could definitely see how we had learned so much about ourselves, and we were ready to share that. So we had open communication, started dealing with some of the hard stuff. It was hard, and there was a moment where it got to be too much, and so I kind of pushed him away, and I told him, I said, this is too much for me. It's going too fast. I'm overwhelmed. I'm scared. And so we took a step back, and we kept building trust, kept talking, having the hard conversations, practicing our healing, like, all the things that I had learned on how to heal, how to face my fears, how to deal with my fears, how to identify them, how to build my confidence, how to grieve, how to grieve the loss of things that I wanted to have happen that didn't, and in changing my expectations, all of these tools, how to deal with my anxiety, all of the tools that I had learned and gathered up from here, there, and everywhere, started to really, I used them, I implemented them, and they were working to be able to improve my relationship with myself. First and foremost, my relationship with my son was great, and then to build my relationship with my husband well, and then we had finalized the divorce. So in the midst of all of this, the divorce had been finalized. So he was my ex-husband at that point, but we were still working at building a friendship for the purpose of co-parenting. And friendship was what I discovered was the most important foundation of, no matter what we do, we're going to be connected by our son, and we needed to be friends. And then as we established that friendship, and we rebuilt the trust, and we rebuilt communication, and we had vulnerability and honesty, and we were doing all of these things, and it's like, okay, yeah, we're friends now. But yeah, I still, I want more than that. I want my husband back. I want my relationship, but not back. I wanted the healthy relationship we'd built to grow. And that was a really big difference. The divorce put closure on the bad relationship. And not that, and helped to identify the fact that he and I were growing and changing. We were better people than we'd ever been. But that relationship needed closure so that we could start a new one. And the reality is you can do this at any time. You can heal, wipe the slate clean, and start fresh with anyone. You really can. It takes hard work. It's not an easy process, but it is 100% doable, because if we did it, anybody can do it. So from there, we started dating again, and really started from scratch. We would ask each other, it felt somewhat silly, but at the same time, we were starting new relationships, so we treated it as such. We got to know the other person again, asking, likes and dislikes. If you had these options, what would you choose? All kinds of the fun, goofy, get to know you stuff. And it was really nice. It also taught me that in marriage, you should be doing that at any time, because you can grow at any time. There's no end point to growth. So even if you've been married for years, you should be asking get to know you questions to your spouse. The answer may have changed or grown or adapted based on life experiences. So never stop getting to know one another. And learning that was so phenomenal. So from there, we dated. And then that was in 2021. In February 2021 was our first date, our third first date. From there, we had we started to talk about moving in together again and living as a family, and it wasn't scary anymore. I had confidence in the things that I learned, confidence in myself. I knew who I was finally. After 30 some years, I had finally figured out who the heck I was or am and what was important to me. I found what I loved to do and what filled my, when I needed filling up, things I needed to do to take care of that so that I could give to the ones that I loved most. Like, I had those answers and I was confident in them again. And those are all great. I mean, there's things that anybody can do. So let's see, then November of 2021, I remarried my husband. A friend of mine said to me when I was telling her the story, and she said, "So you loved him so much you married him twice?" And I said, "Yeah, I did. I loved him so much I married him twice. I loved him, I loved my son enough to figure out how to love myself again. To know how to grow, change, develop, build better than we had before. And it truly is a better relationship than I ever imagined I could ever have." And that started with having a better relationship with myself than I ever thought I could have. Do I still deal with self-doubt, lack of confidence? At times, yeah. But I know what to do with myself when I struggle with those things. I know how to build it back up. I'm not just in this bottomless pit of negative talk and self-doubt and self-condemnation and people-pleasing and why am I not enough because they don't like me. I like me. I like me. I like the fact that I am better than I was yesterday and I'm still working on growing for tomorrow. I like the fact that I'm a little quirky and sometimes goofy and I'm creative and I love learning new things. I love to research. Sometimes I spend too much time researching. I love me. I found value and reassurance in who I am, things that people can't take from me. It isn't about whether they're happy or not. My happiness comes from within because I love myself. Because I know what I love. When I need a distraction, when I need a mind break, I know I need to do X, Y, and Z to help myself. And I'm confident in that because I've done it and I've tried it and it builds my confidence. I know that when I'm emotional, I need to do X, Y, and Z to help me process my emotions, to help me heal in that moment. I know that I never want to carry a bottle full of emotions ready to burst inside me. I don't want to be that person anymore, where the slightest thing makes me explode. Where I can look at my son and say, I need a minute because I don't want to snap at you. And I can take that and do my exercises in terms of dealing with my emotions and calming down and clear my head so that when I come back to the situation, I'm handling it, I'm responding instead of reacting. I want to be the person that responds. And I know how to do that now. Am I perfect? No. But I'm not a perfectionist any longer. Perfection doesn't rule my life and ruin perfectly good moments just because they're not perfect. Because they're still amazing, because they're unique and special, and they they were moments of joy, or they were opportunities for growth. And I can have that positive context. And I love that about myself. And when I love me, then I am so much more successful at being a wife and a mother than I ever was before. I'm a more successful business person. I'm a more successful friend. I'm more successful at removing toxic people from my life. I'm more successful in who I am, and that radiates out into my life. And I want to share all those tools, all the things I learned, everything that I've developed over the past 3 years with you. And this is just the story, the story that gets me to this point to say, I want to share it all with you. It's why I started life coaching. It's why I went through a coaching program. It's why I started to draw all of this together and create a program. Because I want to give you what I didn't have. I want to give you what I didn't have when I was going through it all. A place where all the information is one place. A community of people to talk to. There were so many times when I wish I could have gone to someone that wasn't involved directly with my chaos and say, give me some perspective, because I'm too emotional. I don't know what to do, and how do I process this? And someone to help me help myself. And so I want to be able to be that for you. And to create a safe space, a community of women that understand what you're going through, but also want to grow with you. That is what I am creating, and I am so passionate about it because of the story that I just told you. And there's so much to it. You know, even after remarrying my husband, we use all these tools every day. There are things that continue to happen in marriage that are hard, and we know how to deal with them. We had a miscarriage after we were remarried, and it was hard, but it didn't destroy me. And 5 years ago, a miscarriage would have destroyed me. I used my tools to grieve. I knew how to grieve. I knew how to work through my emotions, how to heal, and my husband was right there with me doing the same things. It was almost amazing to see it all work in a whole different area, in a whole different arena of my life, and know even more confidently that I can do this. I can overcome traumas that have happened to me and that will happen to me. And that thought, that realization was joy. That no matter what happens, these tools, these skills that I have learned will get me through it. And I can be the best version of myself. And I want to share all of that with you. I can't thank you enough for spending the time listening to this story, and just giving me the opportunity to share it with you. I continue to grow and learn, and I want to be able to, again, share all these tools with you. Feel free to check out, there'll be more videos here on YouTube. I also have a free Facebook group that will have different, content and resources available as well. So please check that out through the link. And then, if you have more questions and want to talk more directly with me, I am available to set up a call with. So feel free to check out all of those links and come back and see me again.